Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Sarah Smith, and you're listening to Raw Intentions. Alrighty, guys, it is a beautiful, sunshiny day here in Breckenridge, Colorado, and I just recorded the most amazing interview that I'm so excited to bring to y'all. But before we get into this week's episode, I just wanted to give my little elevator pitch, just in case this is your first time listening and you're wondering who the heck I am. So, like I said in the intro, my name is Sarah Smith, Sarah with an H, Smith with a Y. I am 29 years old, born in Madison, Alabama, and currently, like I said, living in Breckenridge, Colorado, which, if you don't know, is just a cute little ski town in the mountains. I graduated from college at Auburn back in 2017, and my senior year of college, I was incredibly broke and started making handmade jewelry just out of my college apartment for myself, for my friends, and what started as a little side hustle on the side of me working at Texas Roadhouse for like 4 or 5 years of my life turned into a full-blown business brand, my baby, all the things. So it's called Raw and Rebellious. That's at raw_rebellious on Instagram. I've had the business for like 7, 8 years now, which is so crazy. And it's totally transformed from just handmade jewelry. We do apparel now, we do prints, we do hats, we do all kinds of things. And it's definitely turned into more of a lifestyle brand with the main focus being the community. We have such an incredible community, and it's definitely my favorite part of my business and my job. And that's what led me to start this podcast. So, Raw Intentions, that's at Raw Intentions Podcast on Instagram, is just a lifeline to that community that I get to chat with via DMs every single day and a more personal, authentic connection. So, it's been so much fun. Not only do I get to hear myself talk once a week, because if you have a podcast, clearly you're obsessed with yourself and have a bit of a God complex like me. But I also get to do interviews all the time with the most amazing, inspiring, interesting people, either, people that I'm super close with, whether it's someone that's already in my life, a close friend of mine that I get to bring on the mic, or someone that I admire from afar that I feel inspired by that I get to bring on the podcast and hear their story and kind of spread their message. And that definitely speaks to our guest this week. This week on Raw Intentions, we've got Mariah Grippo, who I have followed for so freaking long. She is the right-hand man, or woman, I guess I should say, of Little Words Project, which is the iconic bracelet brand. You know it. If you don't think you know it, I promise you do. They create these handmade beaded bracelets with different words and phrases, and they've been around for a really long time and have totally exploded not only the accessory market, but their branding and their message and their why behind starting their company and doing what they do is so consistent and definitely transcends through all of the growth that they've been through in the last like 8, 10 years. And I'll let Mariah speak on that because she is clearly the expert. But can I just say, this episode is absolute gold. There are so many takeaways, so many amazing quotes. Mariah is so knowledgeable, so well spoken, and also like the busiest person alive. So I'm so thankful that she took the time to come on the podcast and share her story, Little Word Project story. We talk about work, entrepreneurship, the hustle of growing and scaling a small business to a worldwide, multifaceted, like major brand. We talk about relationship advice. We talk about finding balance when you're all over the place. And we talk about some travel hacks that she has. I mean, we go into it all, and she is literally a queen. So I'm so stoked to share her story and for y'all to get to know her like I did. So without further ado, let's welcome to the podcast, Mariah Grippo. I'm so excited we got to do this. I've been following you for forever and watching you do everything that you do with Little Words Project and also just like in your life. I mean, it's so inspiring and so fun to keep up with. Like you're always up to something, and I've just loved following along. So I'm so stoked that we get to
Yeah.
chat. Yeah. So before we get into it, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to
Yeah.
your listeners, to our listeners, and tell us a little bit about you.
Oh my gosh, that's hard. The tell us about
I
you thing,
know.
the most vague question of all time. It's like
When
the
the
date.
roles are reversed, if I'm on a
Yeah.
podcast, I'm like, what the fuck do I even say?
My founder and I also have a podcast, and I'm like, we're good on that. But the second I'm somewhere else, I'm on another podcast. I don't even know where to start with who I am. Um,
Yeah.
I'm Mariah. I'm 30 years old. I don't
I'm
know.
almost there. I'm 29.
Yeah, I'm 30. It's scary. I'm turning 31 in June. I'm a Gemini. Okay. And I work at Little Words Project. I helped build the company from, I would say from the beginning. I was the very first like legitimate employee, and I used to like make all the bracelets. And now I am the director of VIP relations, which essentially means like I do all of our like high profile celebrity VVIP partnerships. So anytime
Mm.
there's a touch point with any sort of like high profile person, that would be kind of under my umbrella. And I also, go to our store openings and our wellness retreats. And I would say I'm very much a face of the brand, which it's hard to title that. But yeah, I just go to a lot of things and mix and mingle with our customers and remind them why
Mhm.
we're doing this and who we are. And yeah, I live in Jersey City. My whole
I
personality is Little Words
I
Project.
think that was great. No, I think that was great. I mean, listen, I'm the same way. My life is my work, and my work is my life. When
Yeah.
you start a company or you're with the company from the beginning, it all just kind of, like, morphs together.
Yep.
So, I mean, my elevator pitch would be quite similar to yours, so I totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, I could go into so many things and like my hobbies and interests, and I love vintage clothes and I love going thrifting and I love being
Mm.
in my apartment by myself. I love being alone in my adorable apartment. Like there's so many little tidbits about me. I have a big family. I come from, an Italian background, so my family's loud and I love my siblings and there's so much more about me, but I think when you have a passion in your career that is something you really care about, that does sometimes become your whole being. And I very much identify with Little Words Project as like who I am. So yeah, I guess that's a good thing. But it is like all I talk about.
No, I get it, and I mean, at least from an outsider looking in, and you can obviously speak more on this, Little Words Project is so much more than just, like, bracelets and jewelry. It
Yeah.
has such heart and soul and community and love and acceptance at its core. You said that you've been there pretty much since the beginning, so for anyone that's listening that hasn't heard of Little Words Project, which if you haven't, I don't know what rock you're living under because it is definitely, like, one of the biggest jewelry brands out there. I'd
Oh,
love for you to talk about, like, kind of how it started, how you got involved at the beginning, and how your role has grown from then to now. I mean, working with high profile celebrities, getting bracelets to Taylor Swift through NSYNC. I mean, you do everything.
yeah, that was like the craziest moment ever, and we definitely will touch on that.
Yeah.
But to go back to the beginning. Well, first of all, our brand is all about kindness and self-love. So every bracelet has a word on it. You're meant to wear it for as long as you need it, and then someday pay it forward to someone who needs it more. And that's really in an act of, selflessness and thinking about others, but obviously prioritizing yourself first, wearing
Mm.
a word and fulfilling whatever that word is, manifesting it, fulfilling the prophecy, whatever it is to you. And when you feel the time is right, sharing it with someone else, because that act is something that we really don't do that often. So as a brand, we've kind of become the only product that is meant to be worn and shared. And it
Mm.
really is, exactly that. We've seen so many stories of bracelets going from person to person. Like people are really out here doing it. People are really passing them on and paying it forward. So that was our goal all along. Our founder, Adriana, was unfortunately bullied throughout her life. So when she started the company, she, just wanted to create some kindness in the world. And I think she did just that. She brought on some teammates and we've been trucking along and just kind of, building it literally brick by brick. And in the beginning, I made all the bracelets myself with her. Like that was literally my role. I was a beater, which like so much respect to our beaters because it is not easy. These are all handmade, these bracelets, and they
Mm.
are like, teeny tiny and they're so intricate and delicate and pretty. And yeah, I made a lot of bracelets for a long time. And yeah, then it just started to change and we needed me to do sales and wholesale and, go to trade shows and start traveling. And obviously, like, I, I can't even pinpoint really how it happened. You just
Yeah.
start, and I'm sure you can relate to this, you just start building something and you just keep building it and keep going and you just keep hoping and believing that it will happen. And over time, with a lot of effort and a lot of heart, it does start to happen. You just have to like be extremely patient. So there were days where I was beating bracelets and I was like, where where is this career headed? How is this a career? How do I build on this? And little things, like we would work on our college ambassador program at night, but I'd be beading the bracelets during the day. How do we
Mm.
continue to kind of push the brand and push the mission in those beginning days? And then, yeah, I did everything from sales to picking and packing the orders to it was a lot of sales because I'm obviously a chatty person. So, like, honestly, my role was very much I never, like, randomly was our finance team. Like, that was, like we just didn't have fun. I was never gonna, like, dive into that ever. Um, but, yeah, I was always just, like, kind of that face of the brand. I just was at events and at different things, and Adriana and I, we did a lot in the beginning. We traveled a lot, and we still do, but it was different. We were just on the road, trunk shows and trade shows and
Mm.
selling it and telling anyone we possibly could about it. But I always had an interest in that, like, celebrity VIP world. I think
Mm.
I think I'm good in those environments. I think I can, like, talk to anyone. So it never it never was scary to me. And Adriana even says now, like, there would be times where if we were gonna walk up to, like, Swiss Beats, for example, at his, like, dinner at Art Basel in Miami, Adriana would, like, get cold feet because she's the founder. And she would be like, "Oh my God, I don't know. Like, what if he denies us?" I'd be like, "No, move out of the way. I'll talk to
Yeah.
him." And she would, like, let me, like, she'd be like, "All right, you go, Mariah, like, I know you can do it." Like, I get, like
Yeah.
she would get a little nervous because it's her baby, and she doesn't wanna get denied, but me, I'd be like, "All right, like, I got this, we're gonna do it, like, he's gonna love it," and, they always did, so I just always had a little heart, I think, for just, like, celebrities and communicating with people that tell the right stories, people that are in the media or in the press and that we see as a, good representation of our brand. And I always was able to pinpoint who those people were. And I always wanted to try to get in front of them. So that's kind of where the role evolved into. Obviously, it's hard to go from a beater to what I am today. Like, it did take 8 years of
Totally.
figuring out, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey for sure.
Well, and I mean, you going from, being a beater to doing what you're doing now is such a testament to small businesses. Like, especially when
Mhm.
you start working with a founder from the beginning, you're going to wear a million hats. Sure, finance team may not be one of those hats, but you
Yeah.
just kind of like morph with it as you go. And you're so busy and you kind of said it perfectly. And I feel like I've done this too, where it happens so slowly and you have to be so patient and just be so sure on that like resounding why of like, why am I even doing this in the first place? And y'all clearly have such an incredibly clear story, which I think is why you've had so much success. But like
Yeah.
putting your head down and working, and then all of a sudden you look up and it may not even be this like massive moment, but it's a million little things
Yeah.
that have built you up to like, holy shit, like we are giving bracelets to celebrities or we are getting in front of people that we've only dreamed of having conversations with, or we're in Target, or all of these things that just seemed like pipe dreams so long ago. And it just kind of like, it's hard to explain. Like, there's no
Yeah.
clear cut process on how it happens. And it kind of shocks you too, because it's not as this like, wow, pinch me moment always that you think it might be. It
Yeah.
kind of sneaks up on you when you are working so hard and doing a million different things at
Yeah.
all times.
I think the opening stores part, like opening our own stores, like
Mm,
our 13th store and in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, which I actually was there this morning doing an interview. And, like, how have we opened 13 stores? Like, sometimes Adriana and I look at each other and we're just like, what? Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, 13 stores, and, like, I don't even know how any of it happened, like, I feel like I haven't done anything, like, what am I doing every single day? Every day, I'm like, "What am I doing? Like, how did we get here?" But, like, somehow we did, and then, like, little things that are big things, like, Madonna posted a story the other day with a bracelet on, and, like, a stack, like, it wasn't even just 1, it was, like, 4,
Oh my god.
and we're like, "What?" Like, I'm sorry, like,
Yeah.
mother? I was just like, "Okay, well,
Hello?
that's insane." And me and Adriana, like, we've been so busy, we, like, barely even talked about it, her and I, because we just, like, have not seen each other, we haven't crossed paths, and I'm just like, "Holy shit." W It just starts to happen, but obviously not without aggressive work and aggressive
Mm.
dedication. And I think that's all a testament to like the team, all of us, like we really have put our heart and soul into this. And Adriana and Bill and just our founder and her husband, like they never give up, they never back down, whatever that saying is, like never give up, never back, whatever.
Yeah.
They are that, and we all just follow suit. So it's been a crazy journey, and it is very unique to entrepreneurs to be able to do this. And I actually was asked recently on a like panel thing that I was on, you know, a word of advice for entrepreneurs. And I actually don't consider myself an entrepreneur my, by nature, but there's like another term for it. Now, of course, I'm losing it now that I'm on this podcast. Somethingpreneur, I forget. So I forget. Anyway, of course, Adriana tells me it because she just is so smart and just knows all the freaking words. But you're not the entrepreneur, but like like you're able to assist the entrepreneur in their dream, and you kind of make it your own.
Mm.
Really specific type of person, and I am that, because like I don't want to create a product. I'm not inventive at all. Like I don't like invent
Mm.
things. Like Adriana, she's always thinking of a new business. That's not what I'm about, but I definitely can push a narrative. Like I can push somebody and push an idea and get things over the finish line. So yeah, you need that like entrepreneurial spirit, I think. And that kind of gets you all the way there. That be all that to say that it's shocking every day what we've been able to accomplish with like a little $25 bracelet. It's crazy.
God, no, I mean, it's so cool, and, like, when I say I'm so inspired by following you and Adriana and Little Words Project, like, I mean that, like,
Thank you.
seeing all the videos that you guys do, seeing what y'all are up to, and that's why I'm so stoked to have this conversation with you too, to hear more about, like, the bread and butter and, like, the
Yeah.
breath behind what Little Words Project is, and I even loved what you said at the beginning about how the bracelets are kind of meant to be passed on, but whatever word you need, it's that concept of, like, make sure that you're filling your cup before you're filling everyone else's.
Yep.
And I love that you touch on that self-love piece because I think that is so important. When sometimes we spread ourselves too thin trying to be there for other people. Of course, that like empathetic gene is really important,
Yeah.
but if you're not like there for yourself first, then
Yep.
you can't really be the best version of yourself to other people. So I
Yep.
love that, behind Little Words is doubling back and making sure that you're really checking in with yourself, loving yourself. And then once you feel okay, or once you feel fulfilled by whatever that word or that phrase or that manifestation is, you can then pass it along to someone. Like that is incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the whole, and it's never changed. That is the cool thing I think about our brand. Like we've got new logo files and whatever, like we've
Yeah.
changed our colors and our brand, mission statement, but the the brand ethos has never changed. It's always been wear a word for as long as you need that word and then share it with someone who needs it more. It's always been that. And it's always been,
Mm.
it's meant to be connected on our app or website. And these are all things that like when Adriana started the company and she thought of the connectability of it and like the trackability of it, that's always been the bread and butter. Like it's never wavered. So I think after 10 years of a little $25 friendship bracelet, we've been able to sustain where we're at today and
Mm.
be in Disney. I mean, we have a store literally in downtown Disney where people are beating bracelets in downtown Disney. What? I'm sorry. Disney couldn't just have done that themselves. They easily could have just put up a little pop-up and said, "Here are some shitty beads. Y'all can do this yourself." But instead, they were like, "We want Little Words Project because when people see that, they see community and
Mm.
they see kindness and they want to be a part of that." Anybody can make bracelets and Disney knew that, but they saw us as an opportunity to spread the mission of kindness. And that's why I think we are where we are today, because it's never changed. It's always been about the kindness and the words of affirmation and sharing it with others once you're fulfilled within yourself. So even like the Disneys of the world have seen that. And I think that's like one of the coolest parts too, with just how far that has come and remained so true to itself.
I mean, I have chills you just saying that, like Disney recognizing that in the
Oh my
community
God.
and the authenticity behind the brand. And I mean, you kind of said that, but would you say that that is your like number one advice for anyone starting a business or anyone wanting to create a brand or something sustainable? Because that's something that I've always thought is like, if you don't have a resounding why that you feel to your core, then what are you doing? Because I feel like that's not going to transcend and be communicated to your audience
Yeah.
and get you through those like really late nights and those hard times and, the times when things aren't going the way that, you plan.
Yeah. I think the consumer, like, just consumerism in general now, and for probably for the rest of time, people are really, really intentional and mindful with their money, with where they're putting their resources, with their
Mm,
time, with their energy. So people don't they're not gonna buy into crap. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
unless, like, you're shopping on Amazon for a couple little shirts before you go on a vacation, like, everybody's gonna still do that, right? And those brands are those, like, little type things are always gonna stay alive. But the household names that we all care a lot about are going to continue to have more and more deeper meaning, because people just want to believe in something, and they want to buy into something, and they want to feel like they're doing something good for the world, for the earth, for the universe, for themselves. So, yeah, I think if you're going to start something, like, make it good, make it, and not good that it's like the best thing in the world, but make it good like it's a good thing that people need, right? And for us,
Yeah.
like, people need words that are positive, and they just need reminders, and they need to feel empowered, and they need to feel loved. So if the world needs more of that, that's what Little Words Project provides. We can obviously always do collaborations with, Wicked the musical, and, like, these really awesome things. But at the end of the day, even when we did our collaboration with Wicked, we made it about the friendship and the storyline of Elphaba and Glinda. Not sure if you're, like, a Broadway person, but
Yeah. No, totally.
regardless, like, it was, it was embedded in the plot. We weren't just like, here's a green bracelet and it says whatever. It's like about defying gravity. What does that mean to you? Why do you want to, defy gravity, right? So with everything we do, we always are just thinking of, like, being good to people. And I think that that's the direction of consumerism. So if you're gonna start a brand, or you're gonna start a company, like, make it help people in a way. And it doesn't have to change the world. It doesn't have to cure anything, but, like, you're gonna be behind the eight ball if your product is just, it doesn't have a story, it's meaningless.
Mm,
Because I really do believe that people care about things with meaning. Again, doesn't have to be about kindness, doesn't have to be about mental health, doesn't have to be about women empowerment, but pick your thing, and lean on that. Like, you don't have to be something for everyone, but you definitely should be something, right, for someone, and make it, even if it's for a dog. Like, it could be a dog toy.
right.
It makes your dog really happy, and it's really good, and it's solid, and, like, your dog is just the happiest dog when it has that item. Like, that's what I want to buy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be about X, Y, and Z. It needs to be about something that you also feel that you're passionate in or something
Yeah.
that you also feel is missing in the world, whether it's a community piece or it's a product, but just not something that just adding more shit to landfills, like something that you actually believe in.
Like, people know it too. Like,
Yeah.
people can tell. And I really like, I like the Kardashians a lot, and, I mean, I love them, honestly, but I feel like Kylie's been, like, launching a bunch of brands, like, one after another.
Mm,
I'm trying to connect the dots every day. I'm like, now we have this brand and that brand, and, like, good for her. She's very entrepreneurial, obviously, and she's just, like, putting things out in the universe.
right.
But the girlies are catching on. Right? Like, I'm like, "Girl, what are we doing here?" And I hope it works. I hope it lands, and every time, like, I want women to win, but I also see that people are, like, their eyes are open to
Mm,
read the comments, and people are like, wait, I'm sorry, didn't you just launch this thing? Like, what do you stand behind?" And also, like, just the chaos of things can confuse consumers too. So, yeah, I think just pick something and, like, stick with it, and just, you have to just believe that someone's going to care about it, even if it takes 8-10 years. I mean, because it
right.
probably will, honestly.
No, that's funny you say the thing about Kylie because even when she launched her, I think it was like a seltzer she did recently, and I'm like, don't you not even drink?" Like, I'm pretty sure she's come out before, and, like, all their Kardashians have talked about how they don't really drink.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and, like, her sister has a liquor brand, which we really,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I love 818. I think that's, like, a really well done brand, so
Yeah.
he's doing that so right. And it just, it again, it's more so, I think, just entrepreneurial. She just wants to be a business person. And I think that that's great. But in our case, as a smaller business, I would say like we've chosen the friendship bracelet and we're just like running with it. Obviously, we're launching little offshoots here and there, but it really is like the word bracelet or bust for us, you know.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that because it's doing what it needs to do, and it's definitely like it's really the mission and everything. It's just working in its own way. So we're definitely grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think I've learned from making mistakes through my own brand is I have an idea or there's something that doesn't exist in the exact way that I want it. And
Mhm,
so I got like very create happy where I was just like
mhm,
creating these products and these things that I thought were things that I wanted or that the world needed. When in reality, when I took a step back, I'm like, no, there's actually a few companies that are really doing this really well. So I
mhm.
actually don't need to touch this. Like I have gotten into like more of the ski apparel because I live in the mountains now and love skiing. And I started doing apparel in the last couple of years and I'm loving it. And, custom made hoodies and have stepped into that world. And then this past year I've been working on designing like actual ski clothes like Gore-Tex that you can go ski.
Wow.
And I started doing that, and then I've been getting samples in, and I've been looking at other stuff, and I met another girl in that space, and she's creating ski apparel with another brand, and I saw her stuff, and I was like, "You know what? That's not my lane." Like, she went to
Mhm,
school for this. Her designs are so insane. I could never even touch this, and I love what she did. So I think I'm just gonna stay in my, like,
mhm,
apparel lane that I'm in, that I'm doing really well, that people are loving. But it's a lesson because and I don't know, because I feel like you're also very creative, and I know you said Adriana is more of like the ideas, but it's
mhm.
hard and I think it's smart to stay with what you know. And you said like word bracelets are your bread and butter, and that's
Yeah,
what you focus on, and that's what you do really well. There's so many other things that I'm sure y'all could dive into and do really, really well at, but
yeah,
staying so specific so that when people see a word bracelet, they're never not going to think Little Words Project. Like that's
right.
always going to be what it's associated with, which I
Yeah.
think is another just great piece of advice as far as like business or if you're going into a product focused business, it's just a good thing to remember.
Yeah, to really like hone in on what you know and focus on it. I mean, now we are, 10 years in, so our founder is getting creative again, launching little things here and there and it still works
Totally.
because it's like still in our realm, right? But like
Mm.
we every once in a while we try to put a hoodie out and like we the only time the hoodies do really well, honestly, and like our any sort of apparel is sold inside of our stores because people want to shop
Mm.
in person. But, like, we put our a hoodie on our website and, like, it just doesn't sell.
Yeah.
I mean, it does okay, but it's not like it's not like when we launched a bracelet with Law& and Order SVU and it, like, sold out within seconds, and we're like, "What? What?" Like, we're like, "Okay, that's insane." But, like, you launch a hoodie and people are like, "Oh, this is kinda cool," but, like, I have hoodies already, like, you know what I mean, from other brands, and I
Yeah.
like so because 'cause we're not the hoodie brand. So, you put a couple in the store and you call it a day. So, yeah, you don't have to create everything, but if it is semi your lane, you could test it and do, little lot
Totally.
as long as there's not a huge risk either. I think, like, people take a lot of financial risks in business and they just, like, decide
Mm.
to launch a whole other thing and then it flops and they're like, "Oh my god, I thought that I had the customer base," and you do, but really for your I mean, our customer just loves a word bracelet.
Yeah.
They and we give them more, and they like it. They appreciate it, But and you wanna get, like, new customers with those new things and stuff like that too, but yeah, staying in your lane, I think, is key, and testing things and trial and error is important, but yeah, we've definitely learned to stick with what we know and try to do that as best as we can.
And remind me how you and the founder initially got connected?
Yeah, I followed her on Instagram, like, 8 years ago, and I mean, she had, like, a small following, Little Words Project was super tiny. I think it
Mhm.
was the universe,
No,
like,
truly.
God, I don't know because I can't remember at all why on earth I found her or how. We did not know each
Mm.
other prior. I literally found her on Instagram, and I messaged her and I asked her if she was hiring, and she was like, "I'm hiring, like, a beater." And I was like, "Okay." And then that was that, like, it's not like we knew each other from college, we didn't. So, yeah, I think the universe just, like, plopped her Instagram in front of my eyes, and I was like, "I wanna help this girl build this business." Like, I was just so
Mhm.
and the rest, yeah, is history. I don't know. It's crazy.
Did you study any kind of, like, events or, customer relations or anything like that in school?
Not really. I mean, I did, like, marketing, communications, like your average, digital media, whatever. I always was interested in, like, celebrities in music and in influencers as it started to get hotter. I also, like, have my own TikTok on the side, which kind of, like, blew up a year and a half ago, very, very, very randomly. So, I feel like I just know the world so well, and not even influencers so much. Like, I don't know that much about, like, who are the hot new influencers that are, like, posting their outfits, but I just know, like, celebrity culture, who's the founder of this cool brand, who's this new artist that's coming out and dropping a single, and who's going on tour with who, and, like, I know their managers, like, I just, like, randomly know very, very random people. What events are cool, being at WNBA All-Star Weekend, like, as a brand, historically, selling word bracelets, maybe it doesn't make sense to be at All-Star Weekend, but every time we've gone, we've had, like, really successful events there, and, women's sports is at an all-time high. I mean, look at what even just happened in the last couple of days. I don't know how, like, privy you are to, March Madness stuff and women's basketball, but it's, like, such a moment right now, and I feel like I thought about that 2 years ago for our brand, and how do we get bracelets on Caitlin Clark because she's such a tastemaker. So,
Mhm.
my mind always goes to these types of people, and brands kinda need that, they need a person who's, like, has their finger on the pulse of, like, not only what's cool, but, like, who's good, who's
Mm.
like, who's a good person too, and what celebrity. Sometimes, like, someone might send us something like, "Oh, you should work with her," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, she was a bully, first of all. She was,
Yeah.
like, she's a mean girl. We're not working with her," and, like, I be knowing. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
that helps a little bit too. I don't remember what
No,
your question
well,
was, but
no, that kind of answers it. I mean, clearly, that's something that just comes naturally for you and something that you're interested in, is keeping up with all that, and I think another thing that's pretty imperative to any brand is having someone not only on the pulse, but like you said, like, you had this idea to get more into women's sports 2 years ago. So
yeah.
having the ideas and being able to project things that could be trending, that could be happening later on, that's
Yep.
how you really, get ahead of it, because if it's already being done and it's been being done, then it's not as innovative and it's not as, groundbreaking.
Yep. Yeah, so true.
Yeah. So I'm curious too with like, I mean, you talked about how your roles changed from the beginning to now, how Little Words Project was taken from such a small business. And I don't know if you would still consider yourself a quote unquote small business, but how you've gone about scaling, doing these massive wholesale deals and massive collaborations and having storefronts. Like, what does that look like starting from where y'all did to now?
Yeah, I mean, we also, like, financially bootstrapped all the way up until just the past year when we, like, finally, had an investor situation kind of take place, but it really was, I mean, literally sales equaled the survival of the business, 9 years. So that's huge, especially women-owned businesses, Latina-owned businesses, like, they're just not going the distance without funding. So
Mm,
and the funding really helped us now just in terms of stores and opening stores. That's obviously, like, a helpful thing, but prior to that, I would say hiring when you have to, trying to hire correctly, which is really, really hard. And yeah, you just feel those different pulses throughout time and you say, like, it's okay, we got to hire. We got to bring this person on. You realize that there's a void or you realize that there's a gap and then you hire. It's hard to say how it happened because it really did. It feels like you close your eyes and we're still at the beating table. Adriana says that all the time. She's like, "I still feel like I'm at the beating table sometimes," and you just, like, think back. You're like, "Holy shit, I really still feel like we're there." But we're not. So, you
mm,
right connections, you meet the right people. You gotta go to everything. You have to go to events, you have to network, you have to present your brand everywhere and hope that people still care about it 4, 5, 6 years down the line. And I guess I would say, yeah, I guess hiring, like, whenever you really have to, it's scary to hire, but when you realize that your salesperson, who was me, is really good in brand partnership conversations, we realized we needed to hire for sales and push me over to partnerships, right? So like Mariah, if I'm the first employee and like an integral member to the team, at that point, I shouldn't be shipping the packages anymore because I need to be out in the world sharing the brand. So I moved beading and shipping to sales, and then I move from sales, we hire for sales, and then I now become, partnerships, and you just start to like puzzle piece your people around. And a lot of times it's like your family and your friends. I remember for a few years, it was myself, Adriana, her cousin, her roommate from college, and like the beaters were like local friends that Adriana knew. Like it was so familial for a while
Yeah.
because sometimes it just has to be. And then as that friend from college kind of outgrew that role, we knew we needed to hire more on, on operations, someone who went to school for it. We were finally like, wow,
Mm.
we need somebody to like run our operations, who knows
Mhm.
more. But that person helped us get there. So I think it's just like, and this too, like just from being an entrepreneur, like at a certain point, you do have to start kind of moving the pieces around and figuring out like, how do we expand this? Because if we want to open stores at the same time as being in Target and being in Urban Outfitters, like you can't do it with 2, 3 people. And maybe you can do it
Mm.
with like 10. Like I sometimes we're like, we have way too many employees. I don't know. It just feels like too much. But it's not, because if you want to do everything, you gotta pay people and you gotta get them in the door and, inspire them to be there and want to fulfill this same dream. And that's the hard part too. Like you're kind of, this is not like you're coming to work at Microsoft or Apple or, a place that has this foundation that people believe in just by the name. We're getting there, but there's some convincing to do. It's like, we're gonna like, this is gonna be worth it, guys. It's still a little bit of
Yeah.
that sometimes. So we have to always find that balance too, and finding employees that are both really passionate but have some experience. And yeah, it's hard to say, but growth happens as people put their all into something and just like freaking build it.
No, I mean, I think you said it perfectly, and I mean, I'm not even close to scaling as large as y'all have, but I think with every step that I have grown,
Yeah.
it is such good advice when you think about hiring is like you kind of have to reach that tipping point where
Mhm.
that person has either outgrown the position, like you said, or you just can't do something yourself anymore that you've been doing.
Yeah.
And finding an expert in that field, whether it's events, whether it's operations,
Yeah.
whether it's, sales, and seeing your employees for what they have. And also, I think there's something to be said about like keeping those same people and just shifting their roles around, like you said, too, because
Yeah.
someone that's started as a beater that's now running events understands so many levels of the business that is going to be so hard to teach to someone that's just like walking through the door. And I feel like y'all are, a company too that the employees that you do hire and take in really do have to believe
Mhm.
your why and your mission to their core in
Mhm.
order to make it this like cohesive unit. It can't just be like a 9 to 5 job. It has to be something that they really believe in. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that that's harder to find.
It is hard to find, and that is something we struggle with now the most, I would say. And if you ask Adriana too, like what's her biggest hurdle as a founder and a CEO, like she says it every day, it's hiring and it's finding the right people, and not that people aren't right, because they serve a purpose, and everybody serves their purpose. But yeah, you just like, you got to find people who just want to do it, and just wanna build it. And that's not easy to find because there are a lot more of those, like, I just wanna work 9 to 5, and sometimes those people are great too. Like, sometimes we're okay with that. We're like, "All right, well, they're not like, a founding member of the brand, but they wanna come in, they'll do their work, they do good work from 9 to 5, and then they go home, and that's okay." But to really get this to the next level, we all know, like, we just understand the assignment. We just know what has to be done here. And you're either like on board for that. Recently, Adriana like gave us like a state of the union to our team. And this was like a while ago, but still, it was like this year. And she was like, if you don't want to be here and it's just too much, like, that's okay. That's really okay, because I'd rather people be here that are like so in it. It's like not even a question. So if you're even questioning it, that's okay. It just means it's not for you, and that's okay. But we can't change the environment too much. There's little shifts,
Mm,
a little bit less emailing at 11 p.m. Like we all fall into that negative category, and we need to like do a lot better and just like stop already. But
mhm,
the environment is fast paced. We are a rapid growth startup. So like get on board, or it might not be for you. If you have to work events on the weekends, like that's not for everyone. We've had employees that are just like, it's not for me. And we're like, okay, that's okay. Mariah will go to more, but like still it's like, and I'll put everything and have no life. But no, I've also found balance too recently, and that's been exciting for me because it has been, years of, I would say, like, every day, every minute of dedication, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so grateful, and I'm so happy, and I'm so fulfilled. But at a certain point, you do work so hard that you say to yourself, "Wow, okay, I actually don't have to manage this little thing. Someone else can do that." Someone else can
mm.
go to this event, somebody else can do this, or we don't have to go at all. We're not like trudging through the snow anymore. We're kind of in a place where like we could say no to things, and we do. We now say no. And it's like, wow, that's like so groundbreaking. But when you are building something literally from the ground up, you often don't say no for years. So learning lessons all around. But I will say that the hiring piece has been hard. And you just hope that you find the right people that are going to care about things, as much as you do, if not as much, slightly as much as you do.
Yeah, well, and even like the State of the Union that you said your founder kind of told your team, I think another piece of that too is you can't ever like, you have to have people that wanna be there, like she said, but also people that wanna give that extra because you can't always, like, ask that of people to, like, care this much or, like, it's my business is my baby, your business is your baby. You can't expect everyone to feel that exact same way, but in a rapid growing startup, you
Yeah.
have to pivot. You have to put out fires. You have to be ready to mobilize if an opportunity presents itself. You have to be thinking on your feet all the time, and that's something that people have to want to do and have to want to be there for. So I think that's
Yeah.
such an incredible message too coming from her to say like that's okay if that doesn't work for you, that's okay.
Yeah.
And maybe this position isn't for you and that's totally fine. This is
Yeah.
just what we need in order to
For
continue our like rapid growth.
And like it's not forever. We say that all the time too. We're like, "All right, guys, like come on. If we just like put forth the most effort we possibly could for like the next 5 years, and we've been around like 15 years, like we're going to be in a really good spot as a business." Like you can't expect a business to just like boom overnight and you have,
Mm,
100 employees in a million stores. Like it's going to take time. So like if we all are in for this ride, like let's just like ride it out and like make it happen, like let's take it there. And
right.
a lot of our employees do feel that way. The majority, everyone who's here right now is like, we are in, this is our passion too. So that's cool. When you can look around and see people that are just like really freaking dedicated and you're like, yes, like this feels so good. The team feels so right.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I love that. And it sounds like yet another reason why y'all are able to scale and grow
Yeah.
so rapidly in such an amazing way. And with the rapid growth of not only the company, but what you've taken on, and I'm sure the last couple years have looked a lot different for you, like as they've gone on. So how do you feel like you've caught up to that on a personal level? Like, do you have routines? How do you deal if you ever experience burnout or you're
Yeah.
ever overworked or answering emails too much at 11 p.m. for
Mhm.
like weeks at a time? And how have you caught up to that role within
Yeah.
your own life?
I think mine comes a lot from the travel because I'm not home as often on like the weekends as like your average person. So a lot of it is finding, and this has only been like very recently, but finding, maybe it's booking the flight a day earlier so that you can get accustomed to the LA time change if I'm going from New York to LA or whatever. That's just a small example, but
Mhm.
if I'm going to Miami for an event, maybe I would book a flight 2 days earlier and go visit my family in Florida for a day and sit by their pool and play with their dog and then go to my event in Miami. Like, I am trying to make the travel as enjoyable as I can.
Mm.
Or like my own personal tip is I absolutely love having this is so random, but I love paying a little extra for my United credit card, which gets me into the United Club at the
Yeah.
airports. Because like I'll tell you as a traveler for work, like I'm gonna go into the United Club. Like I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna get a snack, I'm gonna get another snack, like because that helps me to feel better when traveling, and
Mm.
I get extra leg room and I get bags for free. Like that helps. Because if you're traveling so much, Adriana and I used to travel so much and we didn't have like the miles and we didn't have the right card and we just like did it really like half-assed because we just
Yeah.
figured it out as we went. We'd be in like the last row on a flight. The flight is, like, literally the air conditioner's, like, breaking on our heads, like, we were just like, "What are we doing?" We'd be crying on planes. We'd have layovers from snowstorms, which obviously isn't anybody's fault, but, like, we would just be like, "What are we literally doing?" Like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous, and it's so much more stressful to do anything
Mm.
in terms of travel if the travel itself is shit, You're just, like, absolutely miserable. So, something I've taken from that is, like, if I'm gonna be traveling as essentially as my job, all the time. Like a potential Boston Marathon opportunity just popped up with my friends at New Balance like today. And they're like, "Hey, can I call you really quick?" I'm like, "If this is about the Boston Marathon, it is in 4 days. Like, what are we talking about?" They're like, "Let me just it'll be really quick." And it's literally next Monday. Today's Tuesday. So
Yeah.
like there's a chance that if something were to come through and an idea comes to life, like I'm going to help bring it to life and I will be in Boston Sunday night into Monday, which is super dope. Like I can make that happen, but like I need to have, I guess, just like the travel hacks in order to make those things less miserable. So that's number one. Number two, I do very much care about my time alone and my like recharging my battery. So that is like being home, being by myself, doing those self care things, whatever that might be. If it's like going to Marshall's and going shopping, and I'm not like the type to rot. I know I've been seeing a lot of like rotting on TikTok. I'm not like a rot girly, which I respect it, but I don't do that as much. I more so like want to get up and like go for a walk and then like make a really good smoothie. Like I want to do, but I want them to be my things. I want to go get a haircut. I want to like do my little things. So as long as I can make time for myself whenever that is, because I'm so passionate and I'm happy in my life and at my job, the on the go nature of my role does not negatively affect me. You know what I mean? Because this is what we asked for. This is what we prayed for. So I could never complain. Now, could I complain that trips come up so last minute that I'm like, "Bro, I am so tired, like, I did not plan to be on another flight this weekend." Like, that's normal. But when it comes to opportunities, come knocking. You know what I mean? And that's the mentality that I continue to have. So you just have to find the balance in as much as you can. And now my boyfriend's in Denver. We're doing long distance. So like that's another layer of travel now that I have to like think about, which is very interesting. So yeah, you got to just find the time for you. And then you also have to find balance if it's at night, maybe don't answer the email. I don't know, or answer it because sometimes you have to. I don't know. We're not the best with balance. Like I have to definitely get better with it. And I'm like definitely learning how. This is like the year to figure that out.
No, I mean, I don't think anyone has it down pat, and I've talked to so many entrepreneurs and business owners and people that
Yeah.
work for themselves,
Yep.
and I don't think anyone has been like, "Oh, easy. Let me tell you exactly what I do to,
Mhm. The answer.
draw these lines in the sand in between my work and my life or
Yep.
create this balance." I think it's a constant, like, work in progress, but when you have a job on the go, and that's why I wanted to ask that because I completely understand that I'm someone that is go, go, go. I'm very social, very extroverted. I live in a vacation town, so I have visitors like a revolving door all the time. So I have to find these small pockets because even though, and I'm sure you're similar, you get recharged from being around other people, but you also get recharged from being completely by yourself.
Yeah.
I also love alone time. I love traveling by myself. I love being home alone. I love
Mhm.
going on walks by myself. And especially when you're working in social media and you're on a screen all the time. It's like finding these barriers to check
Mhm.
in with yourself and make sure like, hey, how are you doing? Are
Mhm.
you okay? Do you need to take a beat? And similarly to you, like finding those small pockets, like going to the United Lounge just to make you feel something
Mhm.
like familiar and you're not like rushing through the airport. You can like sit, chill, get
Yeah.
your snacks, get your food, and it doesn't feel as chaotic.
Mhm.
Like that makes complete sense. And then having the days at home and coming back, like we said at the beginning, to an empty studio so that you can take the time to just like breathe and not talk to anyone when you've hit your word count or whatever that looks like. Speaking of your boyfriend, I've struggled with this when I've dated guys in the past because I don't know if you're this way, but I am just so used to like living my life selfishly. Like
Mm.
I've always prioritized myself, my friends, and I'm more commonly not in a relationship. So it's more rare for me to be dating someone. So it comes a little less naturally to me.
Mhm.
So how is that balancing? I mean, obviously long distance is a whole
Mm.
another aspect of that, but I've found balancing a relationship, it always takes me a second. It's like, oh, I have to prioritize someone else now besides myself and my job and all the things that I want to do. So
Mm.
how have you found that? Because y'all are kind of newly dating, right?
Yeah. Do you have a
Yeah.
boyfriend by the way, now?
No, I dated a guy for a year. I'm actually flying to the beach with a guy this weekend, so we'll see.
Oh
We'll
my
see how
god,
that goes.
that's a move. What
I
beach?
know. Dustin, he's flying me out, which is so freaking nice.
Okay.
I know, so we'll see what
And
happens.
you've met before, or this is the first time?
Yeah, we actually met in Vail. He was out here on a ski trip with friends that I'm friends with, and
Cool.
he lives back in Alabama where I'm from, and we
Cool.
met just, like, from skiing and hanging out with mutual friends, and I am so used to, like, dating boys. I only ever date these, like, immature, insecure
Mhm.
boys that I essentially, like, mommy and therapist and, like, try to
Same,
fix.
same.
And this guy, like, has his own shit, has his own life, and is very much a man, like, flying me to the beach and doing all these things, and I'm like, "Whatever happens, this is a good lesson for me,"
Yeah,
because
it's a
I constantly find myself with guys that I should not be wasting my energy on.
good for you. Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, I will keep you
How
updated.
it goes. And yeah, I'm newly a girlfriend, which like what? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you sure?
Yeah.
So it's very scary, and
Uh-huh.
I am finding that what I'm struggling with the most, I think, about being in a relationship, and this is like kind of sad, but it's just like so my truth right now, is that I actually had more toxic traits within myself than I even realized while I was dating.
Mm.
Because I did, like you said, I got selfish and everything was kind of about me, and like it just the world revolved around me, and I do live alone, I do travel a lot. My work is my life. So there were certain little toxic traits that I'm like I have to get rid of and like carry over. For example, the other day I was at an event and then I got home and I just like didn't tell my boyfriend that I got home, right? Cuz like historically, I want to remain a mystery. Like it just it's cool to be like,
Yeah.
where is she? Where's Mariah?
What
Where's
is she doing?
home? Like what is she doing, right? And he's like, "Hey babe, like are you home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "What? I've been home for like 2 hours. What do you mean?" Like I've just been like, "Oh, I didn't even realize." Like he's like, "What do you mean you didn't realize? Like you didn't realize what? Like why wouldn't you say, 'Hey, I'm home. Let's FaceTime now?'" I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're gonna FaceTime me." He's like, "I thought you would tell me when you got home." I'm like, "Well, you didn't just assume that I might be home and that you should just reach out?" He's like, "No.
Yeah.
I would prefer that when you get home from somewhere, you say, 'Hey, I'm home. Let's FaceTime.'" And I'm like, to me, that's so like presuming that he wants to FaceTime me. And like,
Yeah.
if he wants to FaceTime me, he should call me. But like, he's like, "No, like if we planned to FaceTime when you get home from the event. So
Yeah.
just like, 'Hey, I'm home.'" And
Yeah.
then we'll FaceTime. Like, what is this, a guessing game? Like, all right, now she might be home.
I
Let me
wonder if she's
try.
home.
Yeah, like, oh, I wonder. And then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm home." He's like, "Oh, I caught you." Like, I just like want to be a mystery so bad, so bad. So like that is like what, and that's such a small example. But yeah,
Mm.
I definitely like the roadblocks are my own because I'm just realizing like, wow, I really have not been in a serious adult relationship in a while. And just like you, I've always dated, yeah, boys, immature, childish, doesn't know what they want, not ready for a relationship, not ready, never ready. And
Never ready.
in my current relationship, like he's just like so ridiculously different that scares me sometimes because I'm like, wow, like, are you sure? Like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? You know, like when,
Mm.
and it might just not. And I was actually sending Adriana a voice note yesterday about this, and I was because I sometimes just like have thoughts and I just have to like voice note them to someone. And I was like, you know what's crazy? We've always said that like guys have always just like slept on me, like just like everybody takes a nap. Like they're just asleep, like, oh, Mariah's so cool. Good night. Like, and they just like don't do the right thing. They're just asleep. And in this case, my boyfriend is just like awake, like a woke man. And he's like,
Uh-huh.
Mariah is legit, right? She's just a catch. And she to me, she's a 10. So there's a chance that at some point everybody's person is awake, and I believe that that's going to happen for me, and it could be happening right now. This could be the person
Mm.
who has been awake the whole time and never slept on me, whereas every guy before him has slept on me. And I just always thought like, oh, everyone's going to always sleep on me. Like, no, I'm sure someone at some point is going to be like, yo, she's legit. Tie the knot. She's the one, you know?
Yeah.
I hope that it's this. You never know. I pray that it's this. And if it's not, that's okay. You know, you learn a lesson, but I'm hoping that at some point that all makes sense and that like it's true. Somebody will open their eyes to you and to
That
all.
is so funny, like, taking a nap, like, that is and I think that's why I get caught up in these cycles with these fucking boys who, like, don't know what they want because it's an ego thing. I'm like, "No, babe, like, wake up."
Yeah, wake up. How many
Like,
that's
"Have
all
you seen me? Have you met me?" Like, what do you mean?
me. What are we talking about? What
Yeah.
like another person is like, "Oh, unfortunately, I'm not ready for a relationship." I'm like, "Why?" I'm sorry.
For
Are
what?
are you well? Like, you're not ready for a relationship with me? Like, I'm just like, and like, yeah, it is an
Yeah.
ego. You're like me, but also I am. I'm a great, you know, like you can believe that about yourself. You're a good person. You're
Mm.
good work in the world. Like you're showing up for people. You are a good person. So like you deserve love. It's just like as simple as
Mm.
that, you know? And so I know it's out there for all of us, and someone is not going to sleep. I hope it's
No,
my
I
boyfriend,
mean
you know,
yeah.
I it could be, right? And maybe it's this guy that's flying you to Florida, like, or not Florida, to the beach. Maybe he's not gonna be asleep. Maybe he's gonna be with you this time and he's gonna be like, "Oh, okay, my eyes are wide open. Yep, all right."
I'm
You know,
awake. I will never sleep again.
I will never take a nap on you. Like, literally, my boyfriend jokes. He's like, "Everybody before me, like, really slept on you. That's crazy. Like, I got so lucky." He's like, "Wow, like, I really am here. Like, thank you." Like, he, like, thanks my past because he's just like, "Yeah, y'all were dumb."
Yeah.
You
Well, and
know?
it's
And I'm
funny
just
too,
like,
you talking about the, like, not letting him know when you get home. I
yeah.
remember with my last boyfriend, I had such a hard time, like, because I was so used to being independent too, like, cluing him in
Mm,
on my plans or, like, "Oh, I forgot oh, I didn't tell you that I'm flying to whatever
yeah.
tomorrow." Like, "Oh,
Mhm.
shit." Like, "Oh, I didn't invite you to this," or, "Oh" like, I just always forgot to include him because I was so used to, like, deciding things last minute, doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted without having to
Yeah.
really tell anyone. So I also found that to be really hard to, like, catch up with, like,
That
sharing
is
that
a
with someone.
Yep, that is a pattern now that I have to, sometimes my boyfriend will like we'll go the whole day and we won't chat as much, and then and then I start to get like weird and I'm like, "All right, I'll wait for him." And then later he's like, "Hey babe, so yeah, like what's good with that?" Because the thing is like, where have you been? Are you good? And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, you can text me." And he's like, "I first of all, yes I did. And second of all, like you can text me. Like I'm
Yeah.
your girlfriend." I'm like, "Oh, true, true. Okay." I'm trying to be mysterious still. Like, I just, like, still am, like, trying to be so
Good
damn
point.
up, you know? It's
That
really
is
annoying.
hilarious.
No, it actually is annoying, but it's great too because it's just, like, opening my eyes to how to be a girlfriend. How the fuck do you be a girlfriend? I'm, like, learning it every single day.
Well, if you learn anything and get any tips, let me know. I'm
Yeah, I will.
also selfishly excited that he's in Denver because maybe we'll get to hang out one of these days when you come to visit him.
I know, and I totally like, we went to Vail on a little couples trip, which was my first couples trip ever, very cute, but that's Vail, so, like, Breck, I do wanna visit at some point, and yeah, if you come to, like, that Denver area or if you ever are going to any sort of sporting events, I don't know, like, and we just happen to be at the same sporting event, that could be really fun. Um, so that could be a thing in the future, but yeah, definitely Denver things to come for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. You'll have to keep me updated when you're out in Colorado. Breck is not
Yeah.
far, and I go to Denver a ton, and, my friend Kennedy Stedham, I don't know if you know her or Jarrett, her husband, he used to
Mhm.
play for the Broncos. I don't know if he still does.
No, she's not a cheerleader.
No, 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 she's not a cheerleader.
No.
But she has a couple kids. They live in Texas now. I don't really know how sports work, to be totally honest, so I think that he's still on the team, but I really am not sure.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, no, you'll have to keep me updated, and I know you have to run. I know you've got a million things. Before you go, I would love for you to leave us with, like, a quote, a word, something that's, like, really hitting home for you right now, or something that someone said to you recently that really
Mhm.
struck a chord with you.
I heard a quote recently that I really liked. It does not have to do with business at all, but I
Totally
did need
fine.
a phone background because I just, like, really liked it, and it is, "Be yourself so the people who are looking for you can find you." And I feel like that's
Wow.
so beautiful because it's like so many times we wanna, like, fit into a box and we wanna, like, be whatever, but then we end up around men or friends or whatever that aren't actually, like, suiting us because they're not really who we are, you know? So just, like,
Mm.
being yourself, and I think I've learned that in my relationship, like, I'm really opening up to him in my silly way, and in the beginning, he thought I was shy, and I'm like, "I'm not shy." And he's like, "Well, you're being shy." And I'm like, "No, I'm just nervous and I have to be cool in front of your friends." He's like, "No, you don't. Like, just
Yeah.
be you." You know what I mean? Like, just be you. And sometimes
Mm.
I do find myself, like, shape shifting in groups because I just wanna, like, make everybody happy and make everybody feel comfortable. But sometimes
Mm.
it's not comfortable to be around me. Like, sometimes I can be extra and aggressive and loud and whatever. So yeah, be yourself and then the right people will find you and then you'll have your people or the right job will find you. I don't know. I think it can go for anything. The right relationship will find you. Like be yourself and put yourself out there in your most authentic way and the right things come to you.
Mm. Well, and I think that also plays into, like, as an adult, finding yourself in your 20s and, like, I'm sure you can attest your late 20s,
Yeah.
now early 30s are the best time because you are so much more sure of yourself and really have an idea of who you are, and I think showing up in those adult relationships, friendships, business partnerships, whatever that is, and actually
Mhm.
being yourself
Mhm.
is so much more rewarding when you get accepted as that. Because
Yeah.
when you show up as yourself and people love and accept you, then
Mhm.
you're like, "Oh, okay, like, I actually can just be
Yeah.
me, and I don't
Yeah.
have to wear these masks."
Yeah, everybody loves like who I am and that's like so cool because you're just like authentically you.
Right.
And it doesn't scare anyone. The right people are just there and they're
Mm.
for it, you know? So,
I
yeah.
love that. That is
Yeah,
so sweet.
yay,
Well, Mariah, thank you so much.
course.
This was so much fun. I'm so excited to keep keeping up with you. I
Yes,
would
thank
love for you to leave your handles, for Little Words Project, for your personal account, TikTok,
you.
all the things before you go,
Yeah,
so everyone can follow you.
at Little Words Project on everything, at Mariah Grippo, MariahGrippo on Instagram and TikTok. My TikTok, like, once was a dating like, how to be single and how to, like, be thriving as a single woman, and now it's like I don't know what it's becoming, honestly, I need to figure it out, but it's kind of like how to be in a relationship, how to cut old habits, how to be healthy, and then at some point it'll be like, "Here's my relationship." I don't know. I'm like, we'll figure it out, but I
We'll
do
figure
wanna
it out.
I wanna stay there for the girlies. I don't want all the 120,000 people that cared about what I had to say about being single and how to do that with power. I still
Mm,
want them to know that there's, like, hope in my content and that they can too fulfill what I've done or what I'll continue to do. So, um,
mm.
I don't wanna lose the girls, so I need to keep up with that and still be a relationship, like, guru, but we'll see where that goes, but yeah, Mariah Grippo and Little Words Project.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
everyone,
much.
for listening, and we will catch y'all next week.
Yay.
All right, and that is a wrap on this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. If this is your first time, I definitely hope that you stick around with Raw Intentions. We drop new episodes every single Thursday, anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you feel so inclined and you like what you heard, I would love if you would subscribe to us and leave us a little like, rating, or review, just as we continue to grow and grow our community. If you want to give me feedback, chat about something you heard on the podcast, or have an idea for a guest or a subject that you would like on the podcast, then slide into my DMs. I dropped our Instagram at the beginning, but you can follow us at Raw Intentions Podcast to get all of the updates, all of the things, and yeah, always open for a chat, always open for a DM. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some amazing takeaways from this episode. Like I said, if you're new, we've got new episodes every Thursday with tons of episodes that you can backtrack and listen to, which I think are pretty good, although I might be a little biased. So thanks so much. Tell your friends. Kisses. Have a fabulous weekend, and I will talk to y'all next week. See ya.